but technically you can get done for drink driving on an e-scooter. But there is a specific part of the law that says that you can actually be done for drink driving anything. In fact, you could be done for drink driving a horse.
Welcome, Braden. Thank you for coming on today's episode. Braden works at Greenhalgh Pickard as a criminal defence lawyer. I'm going to discuss some unique cases, hot topics, and get some advice. So, welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I currently work in the crime and litigation department. However, pretty much my whole legal career has been crime-based. Yep. So I did a lot of work before I was admitted as a lawyer, but even since I've continued that. So it's certainly one of my passion areas.
Amazing. So e-scooters are becoming increasingly popular, particularly after a fun night out sometimes. It's an easy way home. Not many people seem aware of the laws surrounding it.
Yeah, so it's a question I get asked a lot actually, and people are always surprised by the answer, but technically you can get done for drink driving on an e-scooter. So the way that the law works, it's not the same as a motor vehicle, but technically it is an offence. The law hasn't quite caught up yet to say that you can't ride an e-scooter, so it's not as clear. But there is a specific part of the law that says that you can actually be done for drink driving anything. In fact, you could be done for drink driving a horse. So it sort of falls under that branch. So it's a little bit laughable, but yes, it is the case that you can be done for drink driving on an e-scooter. I did actually recently have a case where the client he'd had some drinks at home. He hadn't intended on going anywhere that night. However, his friend had a e-scooter or e-bike in the garage and he wanted to give it a go. So he just took it for a quick lap around the block, and unfortunately that's all it took for police to spot him on the road. And so he was pulled over, and although it was a split-second decision for him and really not that big of an offence, it's still an offence. So unfortunately he was booked for that.
Wow, that must have been a bit of a surprise for him. So what was your approach to helping him?
Yeah, so the first step was obviously explaining what the charge was and how the law applied to it. It's a difficult one when the law's not as clear, but so it was a bit of a process of making sure that he understood exactly what he was looking at, what his options were, and what the potential penalties might be. Once that was understood, it was a matter of accepting, for him anyway, that he'd never been in trouble before. Many people in his situation have never been in trouble before. They don't know what to expect, so it's always good to come in and see someone to really understand what those options are. So we explained that process, we made sure that he was happy with the approach that he wanted to do, and then it was just a matter of preparing for court.
Yeah, wow. Sounds like you provide a lot of clarification in that situation. Can you explain how your role differs or how criminal defence versus prosecutor in the Queensland courts, how that all works?
Yeah, so what a prosecutor does is essentially they're a lawyer for the police. So the police first intervene when someone allegedly breaks the law. It's then their job to get in front of the court, tell the court what's happened, and then prosecute them for what they've allegedly done.
Yeah.
A defence lawyer is sort of on the other end of that. However, our uniform strategy is to help the court at the end of the day. Once the court runs efficiently, everything else sort of fits into place. But from a defence perspective, mistakes can be made. It's a flawed system, unfortunately, and my role is to make sure that someone isn't being classed as guilty when that hasn't been proven or it hasn't been found. It's very common for people to have their first day in court and then all of a sudden they're branded a guilty criminal. It's my job to see through that, to see them for a person, and to make sure that they understand that they still have rights. Whether they've done it or not, regardless, it's my job to make sure that they're able to have their fair day in court.
Yeah. So in this case, what was the outcome that you got for this client?
So in this case, it was relatively straightforward. They accepted that they'd done the wrong thing. Although it was a minor offence, it's still an offence regardless. The court gave them a pretty fair sentence. They were definitely happy with it. But at the end of the day, it's a matter of also giving them a sentence that shows other people that it could be a lot worse. Although he was doing a quick lap around the block, there are other people who do think it's a safer way home, certainly safer than driving a car. And then they get behind it, they drive, and then they can really injure themselves or others. So although it's not as clear, he certainly, I suppose, received a sentence that was fair.
Yeah. With the festive season right around the corner and everybody celebrating their year, what's your best advice going into this season for everybody?
Yeah, so my best advice would be go out, have fun. Don't feel like you can't, but just don't feel that you're immune from something going wrong or immune from getting in trouble if you do the wrong thing. A lot of people, they do go out, they celebrate, they drink, they do whatever, and then ultimately they think that can excuse them. It doesn't. If you go out and you do something that's against the law, regardless, then you're going to be treated as such. So definitely have a good time, but just maybe know where the limit is.
Yeah, not on those e-scooters.
That's right, yes. And if you do get in trouble, get in contact with the lawyer.
Yeah.
It's a good idea, even if you just do it at the outset, to understand what your position is. If you want to then take it and do it yourself, then that's fine. But ultimately, it's always a good idea to get that legal advice first.
Yeah, know where you stand.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, are there any common misconceptions as a defence lawyer that you want to clear up?
I suppose that the main one's probably that a lot of people do assume that you're a defence lawyer, you're representing guilty people, so therefore you must be helping them. Technically, yes, I am helping some guilty people, but a lot of the time they're not guilty people as well. As I said, it's a flawed system. Mistakes can get made, and it's just my job to make sure that the court can process their fair day in court as quickly as possible so that everyone benefits.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.